We first started in 1981 when Ann Hardy had a dream of having a recovery home for women in the Coachella Valley because there wasn't another one in the area. There was a house for sale right here, this house that we're in. An angel gave us the down payment and we opened in September of 1981.
Since then, it's just continued to flourish. We are a product of passion and compassion to assist women to be able to change their lives, to go from the horrible lifestyle of addictions of all kinds of chemicals, to be able to maintain a normal lifestyle, being productive and healthy.
Most of our staff, all but two, we have a total of 9 staff. All but 2 of them are from our program.
The women that come to our facility, you know, when they have a CPS case or they've been homeless or their family don't talk to them, we can relate. You know, I can relate with them so they know that they're not alone.
I was introduced to Soroptimist House of Hope in 2011, and I came into treatment and I got kicked out 7 days later. So I completed my jail time and then came back in 2012. I completed treatment and I have been here ever since. I started volunteering, eventually went to work, I went to school, and I've been a substance use counselor for the last 8 years.
The process of making those decisions to change your life is gradual. They're seeing it in our actions. They're seeing it in the classes we choose to work with them to release their frustrations, learn why they're addicts, as it were, and how to then start changing their outlook towards the rest of the world.
You know, at first we want 20 years and 20 days, right? We want to be able to complete treatment tomorrow. And it seems like time goes by slow, but once we get settled in and we start working on ourselves and we gain some self-esteem by participating in the program, we get the desire to want to stay connected because here is a sisterhood and a family.
We truly care about the women coming in, and we care about their lives. We care about their children, we care about their families. Our main goal is to get them back up on their feet, set them up with some tools so they don't relapse, just show them a new way of life.
The women who come into House of Hope are many times at the last straw, at the end of the rope. All of those cliches are real.
Addiction does not discriminate. It affects all people from all walks of life.
I became a resident of Soroptimist House of Hope after a relapse. I was working at another treatment program, and after 9.5 years, I relapsed. The first day that I arrived, I was greeted at the front door with what I like to call an Oma hug. She was the executive director at that time, and she just knew how to give hugs. And she understood where I was coming from because she too had been a counselor and relapsed. So we were both on the same wavelength. From that moment on, I was determined to put 100% of myself into my recovery.
Well, I was actually sitting in county jail looking at some prison time, and then they had this program in jail, and the judge told me that if I didn't get into that program, I was going to prison. So, of course, I made sure that I got into that program. While I was in there, they gave me a list of treatment centers. So I seen House of Hope on there, and of course I picked it because it said hope. I needed a lot of hope at that time. So I wrote my first letter to House of Hope, and it was addressed to the director. She wrote me back, and she asked me every week to write her and tell her a little bit more about myself, what was my drug of choice, and what were my goals, and what was I wanting to get out of House of Hope. So at first it was a little difficult because here I'm telling somebody that a little bit about myself that I didn't even know. I didn't trust authority. I hated authority figures because, all the authority figures in my life had hurt me. She was really loving even in the letters as much as she was in person. She always encouraged me that, she couldn't wait to meet me, and she would always tell me a little bit about herself and that she was getting my bed ready. And, she just made me feel really comfortable. Even though I didn't know her, even as an authority figure, she was sweet. As the letters were coming in, I felt like more and more I could trust her.
When I first showed up, it seemed welcoming. I stereotyped it from the outside as being small, but when I first came in, I was welcomed by everybody, and I felt out of place because it was too welcoming, something that I wasn't used to. Kind of felt like it wasn't real, staged, sort of, but they were genuine.
Well, the first few days at House of Hope, I was really confused and I was scared. I wasn't quite sure what I got myself into. Everybody was so happy and productive and laughing and, doing things that, that I hadn't done in years since I was little. I didn't know what that was like.
The first few days were hard for me because I had to get in tune with my emotions, and that's something that I didn't want. And I wasn't used to feeling my emotions. I was used to suppressing and numbing them.
So from the moment that I walked in the door, I knew that for the first time in my life, I had wanted something that those women had. They were smiling, they were peaceful, they were free from addiction. And so I really wanted to have that type of a lifestyle. I'd finally surrendered.
We say when they come into the House of Hope, there's a rule book, and it's simple things: how to make a bed, how to clean dishes, how to cook a meal. We start from the ground up with them and teach them many times things they did not do at home or in their lifetimes up to that point. So that aspect really focuses them on the changing of their normal daily patterns. We are also a house of compassion and love, and we say when you walk through the door, you get a hug and a welcome home. And it's taken to heart, and it's given from our hearts.
And at House of Hope, it was like a home that you feel safe in. To me, it was everything that I hadn't had in years. And it was healing for me. I remember laying in bed one night at House of Hope, and I was just crying, saying, wow, I have a comfortable bed to sleep in. I'm not sleeping in concrete. I was finally able to take a big, deep breath and say, finally I get a bed to sleep in.
They provide you with the home essentials, comfortable bedding, foods, the whole process of meal preparation, and just helping women. Speaking for myself, I'm a mother, so it helps you get in that whole tune again of learning how to maintain a home.
I had so much shame and guilt about how could you choose drugs over your children? What kind of mother does that stuff? I love my children so much, why couldn't I stop using drugs? Every day I would think, do they think about me? Do they love me? And now that I'm not using drugs, I started feeling all these things. So they helped me here by, learning how to talk about it, learning how to journal about it, and that I'm not the only one, that has had those feelings. We had parenting classes, and they would talk about, mothers and addiction. They explained it to me that, you have a disease of addiction. If you could stop on your own, you would stop. And, we had mothers around us too that went through the same thing.
We get a lot of individualized care here. I had a substance use counselor, and she walked me through all 12 steps of AA and NA format. We worked on other areas, medical. We worked on emotional, mental, learning how to live life clean and sober. We worked on making amends to our families.
In a lot of programs, people get lost. They can hide, from the counselors. They can hide from doing the work. And here at Soroptimist House of Hope, there's no hiding. The house is set up for 6 beds, 6 women at a time. I believe that the intimacy of a small amount of women at one time is beneficial for their recovery.
They work with me intensely. They help me redirect a lot of my behaviors, and started off as a child, but in an adult form. Learning how to become independent. And most of all, I think most importantly, it was learning to be a responsible person.
Soroptimist House of Hope supported me by giving me some tools to learn how to deal with my emotions, things that were going on in my life without picking up a drink or a drug.
And it makes you feel very proud when you see one of them and they come up and say, "You saved my life." And then I say, "No, we didn't save your life. We only provided the place for you to do it yourself." We've had people be able to actually go back and resume their career or find one that suited them better.
We've served 4,000 women through the programs who have gone back out in the world, and many of them have not only maintained but moved up in their career choice categories, leading healthy family lives. If they hadn't, many of them would say to us now, and many of our graduates do, without the House of Hope, we would be dead.
I was able to reunite with my children. I was married in recovery. I was married to the love of my life. My son was murdered in 2015, so I buried my son, and then my husband was diagnosed with cancer that year, and he died 5 years later, so I had to bury my husband. I'm still here. So House of Hope has saved my life. Well, during that tragic time, burying my son and my husband, I really never thought about picking up a drug or alcohol or not even a cigarette.
With more education about the disease, we can develop stronger tools. While the ladies are here, they participate in the following weekly groups. It's aftercare group, codependency, emotions and trauma, self-esteem, recovery support, smoking cessation groups. We have a family wrap where we get together and talk as a family. Relapse prevention, anger management. We talk about co-occurring disorders. We offer parenting groups, drug and alcohol education, and we also do a group in nutrition.
Soroptimist House of Hope places a high expectation on the education, the materials that we use. It's all evidence-based practices. We use relapse prevention, we do parenting, we do life skills. These, like I said, are evidence-based programs, and they've worked and they continue working.
Providing education to my clients is an essential for them to identify and be able to learn about the harm that they've done to themselves and know that there's guidance and that they can help themselves get better. So they helped me with my hygiene, they helped me get back on my stable feet.
I had a lot of dental problems. They took me, they helped me get those fixed. And they just gave me a whole new start, a fresh start in life.
We're in the business of saving lives. Sometimes that means the whole spectrum, whether it be dentist appointments, woman appointments, all that stuff. We get women that have absolutely nothing when they come here. They come from the streets, so we need shampoos, they need everything. So, donations or donor support, it will be very well utilized in all areas.
The money that we receive from donors is used for operating expenses.
We pay to keep the electricity on. We pay for the gas in the vehicles to travel our residents to doctor's appointments and to meetings, the group meetings outside of the house and so on. All that little money doesn't sound like much, but every dollar counts.
Well, the donor support is very helpful because it gives us the opportunity to buy books and curriculum, and we're able to offer our clients more support and more resources.
Soroptimist House of Hope ensures that the women that we serve get the specific care and the things that they need while they're here.
So once their immediate needs are met, which is like shelter, clothing, food, cleanliness, that kind of thing, it helps them to be able to relax because, when we don't have those things, it's very stressful. And once they're able to relax, then they can really take the time to feel safe and begin working on themselves.
I would speak it, I would think it, I'd write it, but I never pursued it. And when I came into House of Hope, all the counselors, they just work so intense with you to try to get you to understand that, this is not fake, it can It can happen to the next woman. It will be you. You just have to work it.
So we're very proud of what a lot of the women have accomplished.
And one of the things we're most proud of as the board of directors, et cetera, is that so many of our staff members over the 40 years have gone into training, education, and become certified counselors and come back to work for us and with us to maintain our goals of women helping women.
I was able to go to school and be a counselor, and I continue to be a counselor. Now I'm the director, and I currently serve on the CCAP board.
Right now, like I said, I was RADT1 counselor, but my dream is to become an SUD counselor, and that's growth. The opportunities are plenty. It's whatever I seek, whatever any individual wants to pursue in life.
The goal of Soroptimist House of Hope is empowering women to build them up and strong to become productive members of society and good examples for their children.
We're into saving women's lives. We're a labor of love.
We ask people to donate whatever you can, and we are so thankful when people will be generous. If 100 people would donate $20 a month, that would make a huge difference on just the natural bill paying each month of the House of Hope. Working with the House of Hope becomes a huge community of love and compassion. We all are focused on one simple issue, and that's helping women. We made hundreds of friends, lifelong friends, from being involved with House of Hope. Our clients who have gone through the program bring their kids back at Christmas time for the Christmas parties. We know people by their first names. They know us. It's pretty nice when you can go into any store and bump into one of the clients who will give you the hug that they received upon entering the House of Hope.